Throughout history, Christianity was used to justify the colonization of indigenous lands. These missions enabled European powers to suppress native cultures and religions while expanding their empires. The Guanche people of the Canary Islands were attacked by Spanish colonizers seeking strategic control. My research asks, how did Catholicism alter Guanche spirituality after colonization? Spanish chronicles shaped early narratives, but modern discoveries now offer a more complex view of Guanche religious life. The Guanche people were the original indigenous inhabitants of the Canary Islands, believed to be of close relation to the Berbers, with a unique culture shaped by their geographic isolation. Each island developed its own culture but aligned on ways of living. They were a pastoral community with agriculture and animal herding. The caste system varied slightly, but each island was ruled by kings. Under the kings were nobility and the peasant class. The Guanche religion was rooted in nature and powerful deities. Their supreme god Akmen, or Abora on other islands, meaning the skies, was seen as the creator. Magek, the solar deity, represented the sun, while the mother goddess ruled nature. Although some sources claim monotheism, the presence of multiple gods suggests a polytheistic or henotheistic system. Guanche religious practices centered on sacred spaces called efequenyes, where the Maguaras led ceremonies. Worship took place in mountaintops and caves, venerating sacred stones like obsidian. The Guadimac idol, carved from volcanic rock, symbolizes their deep connection to nature. Archaeological sites in Arico and Granadilla reveal ceremonial artifacts and burial caves. Animal and possibly human sacrifices were common in Guanche ceremonies, reflecting similar practices among the Berber. According to Guanche mythology, the demon Gyota kidnapped Magek and imprisoned him within Mount Tede, plunging the world into darkness. Only when Achaman freed Magek was cosmic balance restored. To appease Mount Tede, the Guanche people used sacrifice and prayer to maintain balance, a harmony that was eventually shattered by conquest. Spanish colonization of the Canary Islands began in 1402 when French knight Jean de Bethencourt launched a conquest for the Spanish crown. Lanzarote fell first, with fierce resistance on Gran Canaria and Tenerife, due to Guanche guerrilla tactics. The fall of Tenerife in 1496 marked the end of Guanche independence. Spanish chroniclers later admired the Guanches, stating some chose death over slavery. With the islands fully secured, Spanish authorities moved quickly to eradicate Guanche spirituality. Indigenous religious practices were condemned as pagan, sacred sites like efequenyes were destroyed or built over with Catholic churches, and mass baptisms were forced upon survivors. The campaign was systematic, not just conquering bodies, but trying to erase belief itself. Modern reflections note that this erasure left a lasting spiritual void across the islands. After outlawing indigenous spirituality, Spanish missionaries forced mass Catholic baptisms across the Canary Islands. Many locals were baptized without understanding Catholic doctrine. Leaders like Guarafia, the Menci of Lanzarote, accepted baptism under Spanish pressure, while others faced punishment, slavery, or death. Catholicism became a tool of Spanish colonial control, systematically replacing traditional Guanche identity with a new religious order. Though Catholicism was imposed, some Guanche spiritual ideas survived through syncretism. Their reverence for nature, sacred mountains, and maternal deities blended into Catholic practices. For example, Guanche goat herders discovered a statue on Tenerife's shores, which they linked to their mother goddess. After colonization, this was reinterpreted as the Virgin of Candelaria. Other traditions connected the 7 Canary Islands to 7 virgins, showing how Guanche identity endured under Spanish domination. Beyond religious blending, the Guanche saw their sacred landscapes like Mount Tede as centers of spiritual power. Known as Echede, it remained a sacred landmark for the Guanches. Echede, meaning hell, was believed to be the gateway to spiritual forces of chaos and balance. Volcanic eruptions were seen as divine. Today, Mount Tede stands as a silent witness to the survival of Guanche spirituality. Mount Tede is recognized globally for both its natural and cultural significance. It was declared a Spanish national park and UNESCO World Heritage Site. UNESCO highlights Tede's visual impact, along with its unique volcanic landscape, as a major center for geological research. The survival of Guanche culture can also be traced through the archaeological sites below the volcano's shadow, offering deeper insight into their daily lives and sacred traditions. Archaeological discoveries across Tenerife reveal a richer and more complex Guanche society than Spanish chronicles suggest. Newly discovered burial caves hold hundreds of carefully mummified bodies prepared with native herbs, sun, and smoke to honor the dead. Scientific evidence shows a civilization deeply connected to the land and spiritual life, challenging colonial myths that portrayed the Guanches as primitive or isolated. These early accounts framed the Guanche as a people needing salvation and conquest. Texts like La Canarian, written by priests who accompanied Jean de Bethencourt, portrayed the Spanish conquest as a righteous mission and minimized Guanche resistance. These biased accounts justified forced conversion, slavery, colonization. Modern archaeology contradicts these narratives, revealing a deeply spiritual and organized society whose voice was largely erased from written history. Despite colonial erasure, the spirit of the Guanche people survives today. Guanche heritage is celebrated across the Canary Islands through vibrant festivals, traditions, and sports. Romerias dedicated to saints preserve rural traditions tied to farming and village life. Traditional wrestling, known as lucha canaria, also survives as a living expression of Guanche's strength, community, and honor. Catholicism remains the dominant religion of the Canary Islands today, but traces of Guanche spirituality endure within Catholic traditions. The Fiesta de la Virgen de Candelaria blends Catholic devotion with earlier Guanche reverence for the Mother Goddess. During the Fiesta, the reenactment of the Virgin's discovery is the highlight of the festivities. Many religious festivals still reflect Guanche communal values, even as they honor Catholic saints. For Catholicism to take root in the Canary Islands, it had to adapt to local spiritual traditions. Catholic Marian devotion grew even stronger because it resonated with Guanche reverence towards the nurturing Mother Goddess. Religious practices became more communal, reflecting Guanche traditions of collective celebration rather than the formal private worship typical of Catholicism. Through this blending, Catholicism absorbed and preserved deeper layers of Guanche spiritual life. Although Spanish colonizers forbade Guanche language, clothing, and most rural customs, some traditions remained. Gofio, a roasted grain dish, remains popular, and the whistling language of La Gomera, developed by Gomeros to communicate across long distances, still echoes ancient ways of life. DNA studies also confirm that Guanche ancestry remains strong among modern Canarians, keeping the spirit of the Guanche people flowing through the islands today. Researching Guanche history is challenging due to the lack of written records. We've relied on biased sources such as La Canarian for context. Many archaeological sites were looted and thousands of mummies were lost. Recent advances in archaeology and DNA analysis are helping uncover their true story. Much of Guanche history remains a mystery, hidden beneath centuries of colonization. I first became curious about the Guanche people after encountering them in the video game Crusader Kings 3. That spark of interest led me to research their real history, where I discovered a story of both loss and resilience. Studying Guanche history showed me how much is lost when cultures are silenced, and how important it is to question whose voices are preserved. The history of the Guanche people reminds us that colonization reshapes memory, but it does not erase it completely. Traces of indigenous beliefs survive. Much was lost, but the spirit of the Guanche people endures beneath the surface of modern Canary Island identity. Studying their survival challenges the way we read history and reminds us that resilience can live even beyond centuries of silence.